And we're live. Oh, we should be.
Lovely.
According to
the chat up.
According to YouTube, we are live. According to YouTube.
Why doesn't it show me us on YouTube?
Oh, I can hear someone's got.
Yeah, it's all right. It's me. It's me. I was just making sure. Making sure.
Oh dear.
Dear. Gosh, it's near that time, isn't it? My word. Don't know why you started the clock, Carlos.
I haven't. No, it's just me buggering about. Sorry.
Oh, that's
there we go. I need to click on that one.
Do you know, there's been hardly any aviation news this week, is there, at all?
Been very quiet.
Nothing to report about airport difficulties or issues at all.
Incredibly quiet. Unbelievable, really.
John Jester is in Hong Kong.
Oh, very nice.
John. Hope you're well.
Always living the high life, that man.
He is. Bill's in the chat room from the Canada. Thanks for your messages this week, Bill. Appreciate those very much. Dirk S. is asking, is this the National Security chat room?
Well,
oh, dear. Oh, dear.
We have a lot of classified material on here that is not for putting on air.
I know this is not a political podcast, but you couldn't make it up, really, could you? Oh, dear. What a mess.
Just let me know when to hit the button, Mr. Barr.
Oh, right, okay. I will. About another minute.
And I shall hit the button, as they say.
Yes. Yep, nice.
Bit warmer today. We reached the lofty heights of 15 degrees Celsius today.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Rich Adams says he's surprised that PTUK wasn't added to the chat.
Well,
from the other day. Oh, God. Oh, stop it. Mustn't comment. Mustn't comment. Oh, I don't know. Yes, it's only just getting dark here now. So we are well into the run up to spring.
We're dark here. We're definitely dark here.
Great. Yeah.
Yes, further up north here, it's only just getting dark as well.
Mm. Okay, 5 seconds.
2, 1. And we are rolling. Right, here we go. Chocks away.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 544 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, it looks like Global Airlines A380 is finally going to make its inaugural flight in May. Southwest Airlines prefers to use a taxiway rather than a runway for departure, and United Airlines' flight to China is forced to turn around as one of the pilots forgets his passport. In the military this week, the RAF pilot joins an elite group of aviators by flying an EA-18G Growler from a US aircraft carrier. And finally, some good news from Boeing as they announced they have won the US Air Force's 6th generation fighter jet contract. We also have some excellent feedback from long-term listener Stephen Taylor to read out to you, and we also have a awesome retro airline ad of the week. So, joining me this week from the Dales, the Glens, the gorgeous countryside across the other side of the UK here from me is, of course, Neville Bounds. Hello, Nev.
Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well. It's been another hectic week in retirement, week 7 now. I don't know how I had time to work, to be honest with you, but no, all good. Thank you very much indeed. And I've been looking at, with some amusement, of some of the aviation stories of the last week, of which there has been an incredibly high amount. And media frenzy has been on the rev limiter with some of it. And I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about that during the show.
Yeah, hopefully we've got a few little bits to talk about at the start of the show, Nev, in regards to a certain faux pas that a rather large news company made this week about a certain incident that happened at London Heathrow. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure we've all seen it with the reference to the SAS having to cancel 12 round-trip flights. I think they actually meant Scandinavian airline services, but in order to be first with the news, Sky News put it up there, didn't they?
Yeah.
And what was their strapline that other media outlets used to use? Not wrong for long. Yeah, Sky News, not wrong for long.
Here we go, Nev. I'll put it on the screen there for those watching in the world of YouTube. Should be able to see that on the screen now. There we go. That was what Sky News ran, wasn't it?
Yes, the special air services said all 12 of their round trips to and from Heathrow are cancelled. Well, there's so much wrong with that sentence. And I didn't actually realise that the SAS published their ops online as well. So that's something new that I didn't know. And the fact they operated from London Heathrow as well.
And a scheduled service as well.
Yes.
And that voice is someone who we've missed for a few weeks now. He's back with us, thankfully back with us. And it's good to see you. It is, of course, our resident Airbus captain and sim captain, training captain as well. It is, of course, Andy. Hello, Andy. How are you?
I'm all right. It's nice to be back. Currently sporting an injury. Well, not an injury. I've had surgery on my hand this week, so I'm grounded for a while now. So, unfortunately, you'll have to put up with me for a few weeks.
That's good news.
Couldn't you get your first officer to operate the throttle quadrant for you?
I probably could, yes. It's just a little bit... I mean, it's excessive padding, I must admit. It's extreme amounts of padding, but I suppose it's to keep the wound safe.
Yeah.
But no,
probably best that I'm not in an aircraft, though, to be honest.
It is good to see you back, Andy. At least you did get a flight in, though, didn't you? I think it was a few weeks ago you did get one in.
Not Monday gone, because that's when I had the surgery. Monday before, I went out and did 4 sectors, Geneva and back, and then a Belfast and back.
Oh, you done Geneva?
The Belfast and back on St. Patrick's Day might not have been the best idea, especially as it was the last flight out of Belfast, but they're all very well behaved. So we didn't make it into the press. Didn't have to kick anyone off.
I bet it was nice to... Was it nice to get back in the left seat again, though, Andy?
Oh, yeah, it was nice to go out flying. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you do miss it. You do miss this thing called flying.
Well, it's nice. It's quiet. Nobody can contact you. There's no emails. There's no phone calls. You're just left alone with an aeroplane. It's marvellous.
Awesome. Well, good to have you back in the seat again this week, Andy. And I think we've got plenty of things for you to comment on this week. What was your take, by the way, Andy, on the events at Heathrow earlier this week?
Oh, well... At first, I thought, how on earth can one airport have a single power supply? But now it turns out that it doesn't. So who knows what's happened there? But, I mean, the airlines did all they could, really. That if you can't operate out the airport, you've got to start cancelling stuff. And, of course, aircraft are all misplaced, out of place. So the next few days must have been chaos. I'm just glad I don't fly in there.
No. And you haven't got to worry about that anyway. You'll... I doubt whether you'll ever have to worry about that at all. Mind you, I'll tell you what, you should come to Norwich, though, Andy. Come and see us over here.
Yeah.
At some point, try and persuade the bosses to those in the power to bring your guys over to see us. That would be good.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
But we've got loads of news stories to go through on the show this week. Some great news stories to go through on the show this week. Also, as I said, a very, very special retro airline ad of the week this week. Nev's already very much approved of this week's retro airline ad.
Yeah.
But we're going to say hello to everyone who's joined us in the chat room this evening. Going to say, top of the list here, Mazouz is in there this week. Good to see you in there, Mazouz. We have got, let me scroll down. We've got John Falk. Hello to you, John. Good to see you in there. We've got Richard E. Flagg. Good evening to you, Richard. Good to see you. Great pictures again this week on the Oz. Did you see the ones you put on there this week, Nev?
Oh,
some really good shots on the page this week. We've got Stuart Buxton. Hello, Stuart. Good to see you in the chat room. Dirk S. Wouldn't be the chat room without Dirk in the chat room this week, as always. Bill, hello to you. Good to see you as well, Bill. John Jester is saying howdy from Hong Kong. Honestly, he does live. He lives such a privileged life, that John Jester, doesn't he? Go to all the best places. Kevin Wallander, good evening to you. Great to see you in the chat room. Darren Smith, evening from Oslo. Good to see you in there, Darren. Hope things are warm in your neck of the woods. We've got, just scrolling down, Captain Cruz. Hello to you, Captain Cruz. Good to see you on. Masha, hello to Masha. Logan Lynch. Been a while, he says. Good to see you in there, Logan. Great to have you back in there, as always. Let me scroll to make sure I don't miss anyone out. Hobby Time, hello to you as well. Great to see you in the chat room. And thanks to everyone for joining us tonight and tuning in on this Wednesday. It's currently, what are we on today, Nev? The 26th of March. Nearly into April already. So, soon be summertime, just around the corner. Don't forget, if you are listening to us as an audio podcast, we are live on YouTube on a Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And don't forget, if you go onto our YouTube page, to click subscribe and also hit the bell icon to be notified when we're live. Right, we are right now. Right, so it is time to kick off with some news. So if all the team is ready.
Yeah, we are.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's turn on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
So the first news story this week comes to us from heraldscotland.com, and I think Nev had to go and buy himself an extra chair to make sure he could sit down when he heard this news. And Andy has apparently gone off and brought some hats. More on that later. Global Airlines. Oh, I can't believe I'm reading this. Global Airlines to debut with A380 flight from Glasgow. So UK-based startup Global Airlines has announced this week plans to operate its inaugural flight from Scotland in May this year. Yes, you heard me right. The airline says it plans to operate a flight from Glasgow Airport to JFK International on Thursday, May the 15th, with the return leg landing in Glasgow on Monday, May the 19th. Global will then operate a flight from Manchester Airport to JFK on Wednesday, May the 21st, before returning to Manchester on Sunday, May the 25th. The special A380 flights will be operated by Portuguese charter airline Highfly, which ferried the airline Super Jumbo from Dresden in Germany to Beja in Portugal to allow it to undergo maintenance in January. Global said the plane will feature overhauled cabins, which will give a brand new look and feel. It added the catering team has been busy preparing new menus, and there will also be special limited edition amenity kits in all the cabins for all the passengers. Global has launched a VIP pre-sale for the inaugural flights. The pre-sale will allow people to book their seats in economy, business, first class, 24 hours before they're released to the public, with passengers travelling in business class and first offered the chance to book a chauffeur service to the airport. Global said it's an exciting time for us all as we see a great deal of work come to fruition as the team at Highfly make their plans to take the Global A380 back to the skies. Founded by UK entrepreneur James Asquith in 2021, Global Airlines aims to begin operations from London to New York City and Los Angeles using a fleet of 4 Airbus A380s. The airline's mission is to take passengers back to the golden age of travel, reinvigorating the onboard experience with an elevated service of products across all three cabins: first, business, and global traveller. Global took full ownership of its first A380, formerly operated by China's Southern Airlines, back in February 2024. And prior to that, the Super Jumbo was withdrawn from use and ferried to Mojave Air and Spaceport in California back in late 2022. In May last year, Global Airlines debuted its first A380 in Scotland after it arrived in Glasgow Prestwick Airport from Mojave via Montreal. The arrival at Prestwick, which drew a large crowd of aviation enthusiasts, marked the first time the Airbus A380, or an A380, had landed at the nationalised airport. The flight also garnered significant interest online, with thousands tracking its journey of a flight using the Flight Radar 24 app. While at Prestwick, the aircraft underwent a livery overhaul with Airborne Colours, Europe's only privately owned painting specialist in commercial and corporate aircraft painting, are in painting and refinishing, completing the initial phase of the new livery identity. The A380 then departed Prestwick for Dresden in October last year to undergo heavy maintenance, including mandatory inspections, component replacements at Elbe Flugwerks joint venture between Airbus and ST Engineering. Following the departure, Richard Stevenson, Director of Global Airlines, expressed his hope of a return to Scotland for the airline in the near future, which, well, they obviously are now. But shock horror, Mr. Bounds.
Well, I was impressed with the way that you didn't pronounce the that company name at Elbe Flugzeugwerke.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Nev.
That's what you were trying to say there. Yeah. Now, I don't understand this. So this is going to be crewed by high fly crews.
Yeah.
There's no Global Airlines crew.
Correct. So I don't have to eat a hat yet, because there is no Global Airlines airline. It's just a name.
So who's got the AOC then?
High fly.
Right. Okay.
So it's a high fly's operation. So it'll be a high fly call sign, as it has to be, under their AOC. And Global Airlines may own the aircraft, but they are not operating it.
Oh.
So there we go. So my hat is safe for now.
So basically, they are literally just flying the aircraft with Global livery on, but
yeah, and
nothing
it'll be their
else
service or whatever they want to call it. Yeah, but it's operated by the high fly crew. But it's one step closer, I suppose. The route choice, I think, is interesting. Glasgow to JFK. Lots of airlines have tried to make that work before on much smaller aircraft, and it hasn't really. And Manchester JFK, all right, that might do okay. Just depend. I don't know what the configuration is. I think they've gone quite heavy on the premium seats on this as well. So we'll have to see, but I don't think it's going to make money for a long time, if ever.
Yeah. Could this all be over in 10 minutes, Andy?
It could very well be. But Mr. Asquith looks like he has very deep pockets, so we'll see how deep they are.
I was going to say, he must have a few quid in the bank to
yeah, you know the old saying, don't you? How do you become a millionaire?
Yes. Start
Be
with
a billionaire and start an airline. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Darren in the chat room says these are pleasure flights. Yeah, that's probably what they will amount to, I think, at the end of the day. Pleasure flights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could the AOC be changed from high fly to global if they were to get their own crew, Andy?
No, to have an AOC, you need to be an airline, so you need to have a fully set up safety management system. It takes quite a long time. There's a lot of steps you've got to go through to get an air operator certificate, which you can do. If you bring in people who've done it before from other airlines, then it's a relatively straightforward thing to do. But you've just got to be able to provide evidence that you're complying with all of the regulations and stuff like that. So it's very costly to do as well. And I'd hope that they are in the process of doing this. Otherwise, again, it just seems like a whole waste of time.
Yep. Well, we'll see, won't we?
We certainly shall. Yeah. Will it work? Nah. Otherwise, Ryanair would have done this years ago. They'd have brought a load of 380s and, you know.
I'll only start to worry once I see an AOC certificate printed from the CAA for Global Airlines. Then I'll start looking for hats I think I'll be able to easily digest.
If any of the listeners know any good hats that are easily digestible, please let us know to get ready, just in case. You never know.
Just in case,
Just
yeah.
in case.
I like to be prepared.
Yeah. Right, Nev, moving from one very large aircraft to one very small aircraft that's now becoming larger.
Yeah, it's on the aerospace.globalnews.com, and it says that the Robinson Helicopter Company has revealed its long-awaited all-new multi-purpose R88, defined as a broad expansion of its product portfolio and one which can perform a diverse range of missions. The tailless mock-up was unveiled to applause at this year's Verticon 2025, introduced by Robinson Helicopter Company's CEO David Smith, who explained, "This isn't just a dream. The R88 marks Robinson's first all-new aircraft in nearly 15 years following the launch of its inaugural turbo-powered 5-seat R66 product. With work having been underway on the programme for around 2 years, the first flight of the single-engine R88 is planned for later this year, with EASA Part 27 certification and entry into service expected by the end of the decade. The aircraft will also be type certified for optional single-pilot IFR operations, taking its total passenger capacity from 8 to 9. With an internal payload expected to accommodate over 3,000 pounds, delivering more than 3.5 hours of flight time and more than 350 nautical miles of range, the R88 will have the capacity for missions that require significant payloads, carrying up to 2 pilots and up to 8 passengers for a passenger total of 1,800 pounds with a full fuel tank, explained Robinson. Typical missions include passenger transport, cargo, HEMS operations, aerial firefighting and public safety missions. Well, Robinson's largest helicopter to date, the R88, will feature an open tail rotor with 2-bladed main rotor systems. Steel blades, as opposed to composite, will benefit from noise reduction measures, whereas the aircraft's welded steel airframe will also feature increased use of composite. Further features complement what Robinson terms utility and safety, with a new LED exterior lighting system comprising pulsed landing and taxi lights, tail rotor lighting, scene lighting and entry lights. In preparation for the workhorse's mission requirements, the R88 will also be available with either standard skids or optional high skids for increased ground clearance and compatibility with a firefighting water tank. As such, the highly configurable cabin features a flat floor, allowing for several configurations depending on mission specifics. These range from multiple forward and club seating configurations to air medical requirements, the latter facilitated by a fold-down truck bed style rear door which can accommodate a HEMS stretcher as well as simplify cargo loading. Additionally, large sliding doors on each side will help facilitate the loading of passengers or cargo. The R88 will be exclusively powered by as yet uncertified Safran Helicopters engines 950 shaft horsepower, class Ariel 2 Whiskey, the newest variant of Safran's best Ariel family, and marking the first partnership between the companies. Robinson has selected the Safran Ariel 2 Whiskey for our largest and most capable helicopter due to their unparalleled performance and proven reliability, explained David Smith. To date, more than 15,500 Ariel units have been produced for over 40 different helicopter types. At the time of delivery, customers will also automatically benefit from a Serenity package featuring services such as unscheduled maintenance for 5 years or 2,000 flying hours, premium health monitoring and advanced digital services. The inclusion of this package provides our customers with the peace of mind they deserve, further solidifying our commitment to delivering the highest levels of safety and dependability, continued Smith. Although no price has been set for the upcoming aircraft, Robinson concluded that its future workhorse for modern utility missions around the world will offer best-in-class performance at a price that redefines class expectations. Typical competitors could also include the 5-passenger Bell 407 and up to 6-passenger Airbus helicopters H125, although the R88 is notably higher in total passenger capacity. Its starting price is estimated to be around $3.3 million. Well, that sounds like quite a versatile aircraft, doesn't it?
Darren makes a good comment in the chat room, says a single-engine helicopter with 8 passengers. Hope that motor is reliable like they say.
It's a good point.
Yes. It looks very odd as well, doesn't it? Without a tail.
Yeah.
That's not very strange.
It's a very strange aircraft. Is 3.3 million good for a helicopter? I don't know. Sounds quite cheap.
It does, doesn't it? Yes. I was thinking that, actually. But then, of course, you've got all the options and all the, digital remote stuff as well, I would imagine. So, but, that's what they're talking about. $3.3 million is the starting point. So
those Robinson's helicopters, loads of them flying around here all the time. We see them flying about. The small is at the R6. No, what's the small one? The R66?
There's a 22, the 2-seater. There's a 44, the 4-seater.
The 44, that's the one. Yeah, the 44.
I mean, they're very original with their nibs. 22, 44, 66, 88,
Brilliant.
Yeah, the 44s we definitely get right. There's quite a few local celebrities around here who use the 44s, and there's a few of them that go in and out of Beccles quite a bit as well.
Was that you and Matt, the local celebrities, in your R44?
Not quite, no. But good. Be good to see what happens with this one, especially with that many passengers on board. Yeah, Andy, you've got the next story, and I know you've got a few comments to make on this, haven't you?
This one's from airlive.net, and the preliminary report says landing gear support broke as Delta regional jet landed and flipped at Toronto Airport. A landing gear support broke as Delta Airlines regional jet was landing before it flipped upside down, leaving passengers hanging like bats at Toronto Pearson International in February, according to a preliminary report from the Canada's Transportation Safety Board. On February the 17th, the CRJ 900, operated by Endeavour Airlines as Delta Connection Flight 4819 from Minneapolis to Toronto, landed in a fiery crash that ripped off a wing and rolled the plane upside down. All 80 passengers and crew made it out alive. 21 were injured, including 2 seriously. On touchdown, investigators determined the side stay attached to the aircraft's right main landing gear fractured. The gear retracted and the right wing broke between the landing gear and fuselage, which is the central part of the aircraft. When the wing detached, 6,000 pounds of jet fuel on board sprayed out, leading to a fire and explosion. The cockpit door was jammed shut, so the pilots had to climb out of an emergency hatch located on the ceiling of the cockpit. Thursday's preliminary report does not identify what caused the crash or broken landing gear. An official determination of probable cause could take up to 600 days. Well, that's quite a short sort of synopsis of it. There's quite a lot more detail in the report itself, especially around the rate of descent on approach and landing. And the aircraft actually touched down on the right-hand landing gear with a rate of descent of around 1,100 feet per minute, which is a lot. A normal landing is around sort of 200, 300 feet per minute, really, max. And beyond 600 feet per minute will be classed as a heavy landing or hard landing. So this is nearly double that and beyond the design load of the landing gear as well. And that poor right-hand landing gear took everything, the whole brunt. It was also very flat. They had 1 degree nose up, and a normal sort of pitch attitude on landing a CRJ is between 3 and 8 degrees. So it was very flat when it came in, hit very hard. And they've checked all of the flight controls, ailerons, elevators, and the flaps, and everything was working perfectly. So it's sort of pointing towards pilot error here in the end, but like it says, we'll have to wait until the final report. But the videos, I mean, that guy who filmed it from the cockpit of a private jet, you can see just how hard it hits.
Yeah. One of the other things that amazed me is with the aircraft inverted, that the flight deck crew were able to get out at all. Because had that fire, taken hold and not been put out by all the snow that was around, that could have been a different story, couldn't it?
Yeah, and the CRJ has a escape hatch on the roof of the cockpit. So they're quite lucky that it was lying to one side and they could get that open and get out.
Yeah, I was going to say that's quite awkward, really, isn't it? When you're upside down like that. I think most aircraft have the escape hatches on the roof, Andy.
The Airbus doesn't have one. We have both windows slide open in the big windows, so that's how we're at.
Question from Darren in the chat room to you, Andy. If the CRJ had hit the landing gear square, it should have been okay, but being at an angle, it made the gear weaker. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, if it had landed on both gear square, then it would have distributed that load. It would have basically halved it. Yeah. So it should have taken it, yeah. But hitting on one wheel at an angle, so putting lateral load in as well, it's just well beyond the design loads for it. And it's sheared quite cleanly as well from the photos in the report.
I think the thing I would take away from it is the fact that, irrespective of the cause of it, that there were no fatalities, and the weather conditions as they were meant that there was a very short fire that kind of put itself out as well.
Yeah, very lucky. The ground being covered in snow really helped quash the fire. So they have been very lucky in that respect. So yes, very glad everybody got out. And 2 people were seriously injured, but I believe they are stable now. So hopefully they'll make a full recovery. But I'll be very interested to see the results of the final report.
Yeah, Bill in the chat room says where they hit is also about the furthest point on the airport away from the fire halls.
Okay, but you still have to be even. It doesn't really matter. It's 90 seconds. The design, you have to be able to get to an aircraft. So I'm sure they've been there pretty quick. It just would be nicer if you were bursting into flames right next to the fire engines. That would be helpful.
But yeah, that video. I think we didn't think we played it. Did we play the video? We did play the video.
I think we did
didn't we?
previously,
on
yes.
the show. Yeah. Right. Next story. Suppose if you're a state leader, I suppose if you're going to fly yourself somewhere, you might as well do it in style. This is from Paddle Your Canoe or paddleyourown.canoe.com. And the King of the Netherlands flew himself to a state visit to Kenya aboard his own government Boeing 737. King Willem Alexander of the Netherlands flew himself to a highly contentious state visit in Kenya earlier last week aboard the government Boeing 737. It has been revealed after he was spotted sitting in the first officer's seat in the cockpit of the plane as it touched down in Nairobi. The Dutch monarch is an aviation enthusiast and has been flying for nearly 4 decades after he obtained his pilot license back in 1985. King Willem Alexander's relationship with Kenya can be tracked back to his flying career, having flown around the country as a volunteer and then for the Kenya Wildlife Service in the late 1980s. His extreme love of flying was, however, only truly revealed back in 2017 when the King made public the fact that he had regularly flown as a commercial pilot for KLM Cityhopper, the regional subsidiary of Dutch National Airline. Officially, King Willem Alexander was known as a guest pilot, flying the airline's Fokker 70 aircraft, or on occasion a government aircraft of the same type. Back in 2017, however, King Willem Alexander decided to retrain to pilot the 737, which coincided with KLM's decision to retire the Fokker fleet and start flying the American-made jet. The royal household denied claims that King Willem Alexander moved to the Boeing 737 had no bearing on the Dutch government's decision to replace the country's international government plane with a Boeing 737 business jet, or BBJ. On Tuesday last week, King Willem Alexander flew the government jet with a appropriately named registration Papa Hotel Golf Oscar Victor from the Netherlands to Kenya to start a state visit that has put human rights abuses in the country in the spotlight. The King was seen concentrating as he taxied the aircraft to its parking spot before sharing a few words with the captain and then descending the air stairs with Queen Maxima. Now aged 57, the King once told Dutch newspaper that passengers on board the KLM City Hopper flights that he piloted rarely realised that he was at the controls of the plane, even when he made an announcement on the public address system. Things were, however, a little different before the cockpit security was dramatically tightened during the early 2000s, and before September the 11th the cockpit door was open. The King explained people regularly came to the flight deck to have a look and thought it was nice or surprising that he was sitting there. So my question to you, Andy, is all the years you've been flying, who's the most famous person you've had on the flight deck?
Oh, blimey. The most famous person I've ever had on the flight deck was... Oh, I can see his face now. Did Around the World in 80 Days. One of the Monty Python.
Michael Palin?
What's his name? Michael Palin, yes. Him and his grandson. And they went
Really?
to Palma. Yeah. Yeah, they came in to say hello. That was nice.
Wow. That's fairly... I absolutely love Michael Palin. It's one of my absolutely favourite. The series Around the World in 80 Days was awesome, but... Oh, that's so good. So I'm guessing that he was just on a flight just as a normal passenger.
Yeah.
What about you, Nev? Obviously, all the years you've been flying, any famous people sat in seat 1B?
Well, there was somebody sat in seat 1A, which was Tony Blair, the then Prime Minister, literally sitting in my seat, with Mrs. Blair sitting in 1C. They were coming back on a British Midland flight to Heathrow. They weren't going back to Northolt, but there was fog there, so their aircraft couldn't land there. So they took a scheduled British Midland flight, and I had to. Just so I was asking them would they mind moving, because that was my seat. I was intercepted by some security operatives who asked me would I mind sitting behind them, which I did.
Yes, you did. You did mind. You did mind, Nev.
Exactly. Yes. But of course, we've got in this country, we've got an excellent record of monarchs flying. In fact, I'm thinking of the highly successful operation that Prince Charles did. Prince Charles at the time, flying his BA-146 into Islay airfield, or off the end of it, should I say. Just do a Google search, Prince Charles and Islay, ISLAY, tells you all you need to know about that. So, we don't have much history of that on commercial aircraft or commercial types. Obviously, a lot of royals have flown rotary operations for the military. But, I think... Prince Charles was exonerated from that accident. Apparently, it was the skipper's fault, even though he wasn't at the controls at the time. So.
Well, that is the skipper's fault. It's always the skipper's fault.
It is, isn't it?
He's in charge.
Yes.
Richard E. Flagg in the chat room, I was just going to say, Richard E. Flagg says he used to work for Australis back in the day. He flew with Bruce Dickinson a few times.
Yes, I've got a few mates who used to work there and used to fly with Bruce as well. The thing that gets me is, did this guy, when he did his PAs, did he go on and say, "This is your king speaking"?
That's a good question, actually, Andy. Would he say, would he do the PAs?
This is your, because I believe when he flew with KLM, he only ever flew as first officer. But yes, this is your king speaking. Welcome on board.
John Falk in the chat room says Jeremy Clarkson in 1B.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, I've been on board an aircraft. I had Cliff Richard sitting in front of me, back from Barbados.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Oh, honestly, all these famous people.
I was on a flight coming back from Edinburgh. I was sat opposite Nick Faldo, the golfer. I wonder if he's saying now. Do you know, when I was coming out from Edinburgh, I was sat next to that Nev fella. Why is he saying that?
Peter UK.
Yeah.
Was he going? Oh, I wish I got his autograph.
Yeah.
I wish I got his autograph.
He's probably thinking that right now. He's kicking himself.
Oh, Dirk S has chimed in. Jurgen Klopp on his flight.
Ah, very good. Excellent.
Yeah, Very good. No, this is good. This is good to see how many people have sat. How many famous people? Obviously, the only famous person I've ever sat next to on a flight was Neville Bounds.
Oh, stop it!
There we go. Right, Nev, you've got the next story, and be interesting to see what Andy's take is on this.
Another one. Well, here we go. It's on apnews.com, and it says that a Southwest Airlines flight almost took off from a taxiway rather than the runway at Central Florida Airport on Thursday because before an air traffic controller stopped the plane, the official says. No injuries were reported, and passengers departing Orlando International Airport were accommodated on another aircraft heading to their destination of Albany, New York, the airline said in a statement. The aircraft was switched to help facilitate an investigation. Southwest Flight 3278 had been cleared for takeoff and initiated a takeoff roll on the taxiway after the crew mistook the surface for the nearby runway, officials said. But air traffic controllers cancelled the clearance before the plane could take off. Well, I'm glad they didn't cancel it after they took off. That's the main thing. Taxiways and routes used by planes to move on the ground between gates, hangars and runways. Well, runways are the long, usually paved areas of airport, specifically meant for takeoffs and landings. Southwest is working with the FAA and the NTSB. Nothing is more important to Southwest than the safety of our customers and employees, the airline said in a statement. Isn't it great that the news service explains to us how a runway works and what it should look like? I think that's important because clearly the flight deck crew weren't paying enough attention here by the looks of it, by the sounds of it. I don't know what sort of speed the aircraft aborted its takeoff at, but yeah. What do you think, Andy?
This happens quite often around the world. Quite often it's not reported on. It was a big problem for a while in Paphos. It's got an old runway next to the live runway. And in fact, if you go on Google Maps now and look up Paphos Airport, they've actually painted in very big letters on the north taxiway now that it's a taxiway in huge letters just to try and stop people from landing on it. It's quite easy in the heat of the moment if you turn onto a paved surface that either was a runway or is a very wide taxiway, to mistake it for a runway. But there's plenty of things you can do. You can, on modern aircraft now as well, it will tell you if you're on the runway or not, using the ROPS, raw ROPS system and TOS systems. But yeah, it can easily happen, very easily happen. There's plenty of times that aircraft have actually managed to get airborne. But it's good that the air traffic controllers spotted. They're probably at an angle where they could see that they're on a taxiway as well, which probably helped.
But one of the things I was first taught when I started learning to fly, Andy, is when you obviously at Beccles you got a small short taxiway, and then when you line up on the runway, one of the very first things I was taught on the first lesson, when you line up, you hold there, obviously with your brakes on. But then you look at the compass to see what direction you're in, and you obviously look on the runway itself to see that the designation number on that matches with where you should be.
Well, that's very easy if you're lining up at the start point. But if you're going from an intersection, you don't have the numbers. And if it's parallel to a runway, then it's on the same heading, isn't it? Other things you can use the ILS indications as well to check if you're on the runway. That's very useful in low-vis situations. It's very useful for tracking the centre line as well in low vis. But yeah, there's a lot of things that can happen. I've once watched a guy land in long grass between two grass runways.
Ooh.
That was quite entertaining to watch as he sank into the grass and clearly panicked and started to go around. But it just happens.
Is it just the 380s, Andy, that have the I've seen it on the videos, that have the ground map layout, and you have a little dot like a...
Yeah, you can get that fitted to the 350s. Again, though, it's not primary navigation. Your primary navigation is your eyes on the ground. 'Cause of course, GPS is very good, but it can be misleading, especially in certain parts of the world right now. So yeah, eyes. That's the main. Mark one eyeball.
Mark one eyeball.
Fight against it, yeah.
That's it. Andy, you've got the next story, and it's probably the biggest headline of this month.
Yes, and this comes from skynews.com. There's nothing in here about the SAS, is there? No. Airlines threaten Heathrow with legal action. A body representing more than 90 airlines using Heathrow Airport has threatened to take legal action if a settlement over the costs they incurred from Friday's day-long closure is not reached. The chief executive of Heathrow Airlines Operations Committee, Nigel Wicking, told Sky News he hoped the matter could be amicably settled at some point in time, but said if we don't get enough recourse and repayment in terms of the cost, then yes, there might be a case for legal action. I would hope not, but in some of these situations, that's the only course once you've gone through everything else, he added. Heathrow, Europe's largest airport, was closed from the early hours of Friday morning after a fire at a major electrical substation hit electricity supplies. No aircraft were allowed to take off or land, causing flight diversions. About 1,300 flights were impacted, with roughly 250,000 passengers affected. Some flights resumed on Friday evening, but airlines faced difficulties and passengers were disrupted due to airline crew being in different parts of the world. Mr. Wicking also called for an independent investigation into what happened and why recovery took so long. Airlines have regulatory duty to take care of their passengers, he said, but in this particular case, we do feel that it was another party that caused the situation. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband said he was working with energy regulator Ofgem and commissioned the National Energy System Operator to investigate the fire at the substation incident. The head of the airline group, representing companies such as British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, was also critical of Heathrow's communication. He said it was appalling that airlines had to wait until midnight on Friday to confirm Terminal 2 would open on Saturday. The situation was not justifiably given the amount of money that had been spent on Heathrow over the years and the fact that it is the most expensive airport in the world. Airlines and suppliers alone could face costs of at least £20 million for the day of halted operations, said travel expert Paul Charles, a former Virgin Atlantic communications director and chief executive travel consultancy, the PC Agency. The figure includes an estimate of expenses for passengers, crew accommodation, additional transport, fuel, and other costs for the aircraft themselves. Analysts at investment bank Jefferies said compensation for delays could knock 1% to 3% off profits for BA and Aer Lingus parent company IAG. But the outage could be considered a force majeure event, meaning passengers would not be entitled to compensation. Well, I'll just add in there now, it's not the airline's fault, so EU-261 does not apply to this. Mr. Waterby previously said a backup transformer failed during the power outage, meaning systems had to be closed in line with safety procedures so power supplies could be restructured from the two remaining substations. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander said the airport took the decision to suspend flights because it needed to reboot systems after switching to a different power supply. Well, there we are. But yes, to add that, EU-261 does not apply because this is not something that the airlines could have done something about. But those costs do need to be met by somebody, and I think somebody at Heathrow has a lot of explaining to do.
Now, I think that they did the right thing. Now, fortunately, it happened, I think, just before midnight on the Thursday, I think I'm right in saying. So obviously, most flights had already arrived by that point, and there were no departures. So the power outage happened when there was very little activity on the ground or approaching. They didn't know what the cause of this was. They did not know whether there was any terrorist activity or anything. And with them being devoid of information like that, I think the safest thing was to do what they did. Imagine if they had restored power during the night, say 3 or 4 in the morning, but they hadn't got full power. So you had a situation where you've got aircraft arriving from the US and from Asia, and baggage handling issues, carousels not working or starting to work and then not working. So I think it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, and there's definitely some power supply and redundancy conversations to be had. But I think under the circumstances, they did very well, and actually they got some positioning services up and running on Friday afternoon and evening to get some of the bigger stuff out to Cape Town and some of the other Middle Eastern areas as well, I think. And then Saturday's operation was far from ideal, but they did have a reasonable service. And I think by the end of Sunday and Monday, everybody was more or less in where they should have been. But yeah, I'm not saying that, the airport is not at fault here, but I think under the circumstances, they were very fortunate that it happened at the time of night that it did as well, I think, anyway.
I mean, talking about baggage handling issues and carousels being out, that's just a normal day at Heathrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's standard, yes.
But there should have been some resilience and a plan and testing done to see what happens if you lose a power supply.
Yeah.
I mean, the airport's closed every night. They have a curfew. They should be able to test these things without sort of a Chernobyl-style incident occurring where everything's destroyed,
Still, on the plus side, it did enable some GA flyers to get a transit through Heathrow's airspace, I noticed.
Yes, that's very much like when places were closed over COVID, isn't it? And
Yes.
people were out flying, getting zone transits. And do you remember 2010 volcano, the ash cloud?
Yeah.
I went out flying then in GA because we were allowed to, well, until they eventually stopped us. But yeah, we could fly through all the major airspace. Then it was brilliant.
You see the comment in the chat room, Nev, from Bill.
Yeah, Bill says, here's a what-if question. Could they have put something like an AWACS up if the experiment hit the air conditioners to serve as a communications and ATC unit?
I mean, I suppose that's an option.
I think, well, there's so many different scenarios to think about with that, isn't there? The speed at which they could have done something like that. But I think that there are clearly questions to be answered about resilience and redundancy and all the rest of it. But I mean, had that happened, let's say on a Saturday lunchtime or something, then I think that would have been a massive issue, because then you've got the whole problem of getting people out of the airport and away from the airport as well, because again, they didn't know what the cause was, and if there was terrorist activity suspected, then that would have been a very difficult thing to do, to move all those people out of the 4 terminals as well.
I still think it was this guy, Nev, on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
He features a lot, doesn't he? That fella.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's responsible for a lot.
Him.
Yes. He does look like Prince William, though, don't you think?
Such a good film, that. Such a good film.
Yeah.
But, well, it was definitely an eventful day, I think, in Heathrow's history.
And again, can I just say, absolute rubbish media reporting as well. I've never seen, let alone the SAS comedy, all the rest of it, the questions that were being asked. And of course, the usual suspects. I'm not going to mention his name from The Independent, but all of that was just horrific. And there was a few sensible people being asked to comment, Paul Charles being one of them, and a couple of the other guys and girls as well. But some of it, and some of the news anchor questions were just
awful.
I couldn't make it up.
I had to turn breakfast TV off because I was getting so wound up. I was like, turn the telly off. That's it. I can't stand it. It's so annoying. If these news people want to, the big news companies want to have some information, then at least approach someone who's got a kind of some sort of relative knowledge of aviation. I mean, God, go and see Andy.
Hello.
Yeah, see Andy.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
When I retire, maybe I'll do stuff like that, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, you'll be famous then, Andy. Hey, on TV. Oh.
Just think where you got your big break as well.
Yes, don't forget us small people when you're famous.
I'll go on my PT UK shirt every week.
Yay! Right, next story comes to us from dailymail.co.uk. This is blooming awful. Airport worker locked in aircraft cargo hold and nearly loses both legs to frostbite after surviving an hour at -25 before pilots discovered he was on board. So an airport worker nearly lost both legs to frostbite after accidentally trapping himself in the cargo hold just before an aircraft took off, leaving him to survive -25 conditions for an hour. Ali Selikten, who was 29, had been loading the Turkish Airlines A321-200 when he climbed into the luggage storage area to secure passengers' bags. But with fellow colleagues not realising the worker was still inside the plane, the cargo hold hatches were closed and the engines were switched on. He banged on the metal door, screamed for help, but through the whir of the engine and wind noise, no one could hear him. The aircraft took off from Istanbul Airport, headed for its destination airport in Greece. But as the aircraft reached its cruising altitude of 36,000 feet, the temperature in the cargo hold dropped significantly. The trapped man continued his efforts in an attempt to attract attention from flyers and other colleagues, but to no avail. Ali was forced to search through passengers' suitcases for warm clothing, knowing that he would not be able to survive for long in -25. Back on the ground at Istanbul Airport, no one had noticed his absence, thinking he was in the break room. But when they went to check him and found that he wasn't there, they looked at the CCTV footage that captured him climbing into the cargo hold but not coming back out. According to Turkish media, the tower was immediately informed the aircraft was diverted, and instead of its original destination in Athens, the plane landed at Izmir in Turkey around an hour later. Paramedics found Ali in the cargo hold with severe hypothermia and frostbite. According to German newspaper Bild, Ali almost lost his legs due to the incident. The airline worker later recounted, "I was trapped in an airtight, ice-cold room," he said. "I couldn't do anything except cry. Now I'm receiving psychological support and have lost my job," and he has since sued his forgetful colleagues. According to the newspaper, he rejected allegations that he had intentionally stayed on the plane. Some say he wanted to leave illegally, but no one would voluntarily endure even a minute under these conditions. So my question, I suppose, Andy, is: does it really get down to -25 in the baggage hold?
Yes, it's unpressurized.
So it definitely goes down to -25.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, outside at 36,000 feet, it's around -56, 57 degrees Celsius.
So we go. I'll pop the picture up on the screen there of the 321 baggage hold there. I mean, not a huge amount of room. I mean, that one's got one of the container units in.
Yeah.
But, not a huge amount. So I'm guessing, Andy, there's no...
Well, actually,
you can't
it's not true. That is pressurized. It does get very cold, but you can... There's an option where you can have heating in there, but you don't turn it on unless you're carrying cargo that requires to stay warm.
But there's no... I thought there'd be some kind of communication access or something.
No.
No. Wow.
It's just a hold. That's it. He'll have been frantically... I'm very surprised if you really banged on the roof floor. But come on, if you really put that photo up, what aircraft did it say it was?
321.
No, that was my fault, actually. That was a poor editorial choice on my part.
Yeah, but it can get exceptionally cold next. It's not heated down there at all. And remember, the skin of the aircraft is only millimeters thick. It'll soon get cold soaked very quickly. I mean, it was very bright to think about digging through bags to get some more clothes on. But yeah, grim. That could have easily killed him. But at least they noticed that he was gone and worked out which aircraft it was from.
And I suppose even if he had his mobile phone, Andy, that wouldn't have sort of made much of an impact, not at that height and not the, in the position he was in.
And there's been a few questions here as well about if you've been a smoker, would a lighter have been sufficient to trigger the baggage hold fire warning? No, because it works like your smoke detector at home. It needs something to block the signal between the two receivers. And also, if he had set that off, the crew would have discharged the fire bottles, which would have made the situation far worse because they are designed to remove oxygen from the situation. Yeah. I can't remember what exactly is fitted on the 320 family, but yeah, it would have killed him. Essentially, he would not have survived.
As they say on BA aircraft these days, just before they close the doors, would all ground personnel please leave the aircraft?
Yes,
that's the people upstairs, not the people downstairs.
Yeah, not downstairs. Yeah. And like you said from that picture, it's a very cramped environment to work in as well.
Yeah, we'll pop up just one last time there before we move on. There we go. For those of you watching in the world of YouTube, but yeah,
I think Turkish use the container system as well, a lot like BA do. There's a lot of operators that don't use containerized on the 320.
Gosh,
blimey, not a good place to be if you're a member of a baggage team. I think, especially not in that situation. No. Nev, this is kind of interesting. I found this one this week on the news feeds, and perhaps this is time for you to move now, Nev.
Well, I was going to say that this could be it, because this is going to be my last year of BA Gold coming up. So I'm looking for other alternatives, and there's one right here on the independent.co.uk. Ryanair has launched an exclusive discount scheme for frequent flyers that will unlock perks on seats and travel insurance. The Irish budget carrier is set to save its most loyal passengers even more on their flights with its new subscriber discount scheme called Prime. Prime will allow members who fly 12 times per year to save up to 5 times the amount of the subscription costs with the perks. So costing £79 for a 12-month subscription, members will benefit from reserving seats for free travel insurance, and access to 12 annual member exclusive seat sales. That's one per month. Members will receive regular emails about upcoming exclusive flight sales and relevant offers, and can book an unlimited number of flights with the discounted Prime fares. The airline said that Prime members who fly 12 times a year will save up to £420, whilst members who only fly 3 times annually could still see savings of £105. However, the new subscription is limited to 250,000 passengers on a first-come, first-served basis. So aspiring members will need to sign up on its website before the spaces fill up. Ryanair's Chief Marketing Officer Dara Brady said, Ryanair has been delivering the lowest fares and the best services in Europe for the last 4 decades. And we're now extending our price leadership with the launch of our exciting new subscriber discount scheme, Ryanair Prime. Ryanair Prime is a new subscriber discount scheme for frequent flyers that want to fly regularly but don't want to break the bank to do so, he added. The airline added, for those who travel frequently with Ryanair, the new service is a no-brainer. Passengers who sign up for Ryanair Prime must be at least 18 years old, and at this time is offered only to people resident in Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Ireland, Netherlands, UK, Poland, Portugal and Spain. Last year, Wizz Air launched a similar scheme, allowing customers to book a maximum of 72 hours in advance as a standby deal with a flat price of €9.99 for each flight, plus fees for any extras such as baggage. Well, I think if you're a serial flyer and you don't mind going with the Ryanair fellas and girls, that's a pretty good deal, isn't it?
Isn't £79 really cheap for a year?
It is, but I'm also I don't know why they've limited it to residents in those countries that I mentioned. I don't know what the reason for that would be, but interesting.
Interesting name as well. I'm sure they get sued from various.
Who would use companies. A name like Prime? Let me think. I can't think.
I don't know.
I mean, are we talking about the shopping thing or the drink?
Or the drink as well, you know.
Yeah.
I guess that's a precedent out there, really. If there's a drink called it and the shopping service, then why not let these guys do it as well?
Yeah.
But yeah, 79 quid for 12 months just seems really cheap. Oh, I don't know. I suppose it does depend heavily on how much you use it. Like it does say, it's more pointed at frequent flyers of Ryanair. But I don't know. Perhaps Nev will be hopping on the bandwagon soon.
Well, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? See how we get on.
Andy, what about you? Are you going to be hopping on this Prime service?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't really use Ryanair that much, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Sorry, old boy. Andy, staying with you for the next one. Be interesting to hear your thoughts on this.
Yes. This is from avweb.com, and pilot fined for radio silence. An SAS, not the other lads, Connect pilot, has been fined about $5,800 in the first prosecution of a 2016 law that requires pilots to keep in radio contact with air traffic control. Captain Christopher Hollands didn't check in for more than 30 minutes as he commanded an A320 with 58 passengers on board from Oslo to Manchester. It resulted in a hijacking scare that led to 2 RAF Typhoons being scrambled to escort the airliner to Manchester. After landing, it was ordered to an isolated area of the airport so law enforcement could investigate. Holland's gaffe violated a section of the Air Navigation Order of 2016, and the UK Civil Aviation Authority says it takes the law and violations of it seriously. Aviation is one of the safest methods of transport, and it relies on pilots maintaining radio communication with air traffic control through the standard channels during flight. CAA's head of flight operations said in a statement, "We continue to work with pilots, airlines and the government to reduce similar incidents, including by prosecuting offenders when appropriate to maintain confidence in the UK's aviation safety and security." He also noted that Hollands could have gone to jail for 2 years. Well, I think this is a bit of a dangerous precedent being set, to be honest. Firstly, I don't think any commercial pilot out there will say that they have never lost communication with air traffic control. It's very easy. We've got at least 2 radios we use for different things. You can tune up the wrong... Many times I've been given a frequency, I've tuned it up, got it completely wrong, and had to go back and say, sorry, can you tell us that frequency again? On that route, data link is used heavily as well, where you don't even talk to anybody. You just key in the area controller you're talking to, connect to it, and once you've made your initial contact with them, that's it. You get everything else via text message, essentially. And I just don't get why... I've been flying for a long time, and I've had many incidents where aircraft have been out of communication for a very long time, and nobody's sent up Typhoons or anything like that. They've tried contacting them on 1215, which we listen to as well, or get another aircraft to contact them. It just seems to me like this is all a bit unnecessary for something as simple as loss of comms for 30 minutes, but he continued on route where he was going. And also naming them I mean, they do name people after they've been prosecuted by the CAA. But again, this poor guy now, his name's known. Is he going to be able to work again for a simple mistake? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I agree with you, Andy. It's ridiculous. Loss of comms can happen. I think, again, although he has been prosecuted, I think it's such a dangerous precedent because presumably the flight was still following the flight path that it had filed anyway. And there could have been a whole number of reasons, whether they had communication problems with one of the radios or both the radios. I suppose they could have squawked loss of radio comms if they had realised that they'd got a problem, possibly.
Yeah, well, when you enter UK airspace, they'll probably have come in over sort of Newcastle way, heading towards Manchester. At that point as well, you're really busy preparing for the approach, briefing for the approach, which takes away a lot of your focus on the radio. Now, normally, when I've had it in the past, even when I'm on the right frequency, if it's been quiet for a very long time, I'll just do a quick radio check just to be sure that everything's still working fine, which you've always got in the back of your mind about loss of comms. But it is a high workload time because then shortly after you enter that airspace and you start descending and everything, you've got to be prepared for that. It just seems overly excessive to me. I don't know if they're just trying to make a point with this one.
I think the biggest scandal is that the fact there was only 58 packs on an A320. That flight did not make a lot of money that day.
Very quiet day out.
But a very old story. And, based on that information, you should be having a word with, with your boss and not having, tea with no biscuits. It is ridiculous. I don't understand the purpose of doing that at all.
I take it they'll have some sort of union, Andy, a sort of pilots union that could sort of fight this or something, or no?
Well, it's too late now. The Balpa will have been involved heavily with it, but the conviction's there now. It's done. I guess he can appeal it. That'll be the next step, and I'd be doing that, definitely.
So, the last story this week in the commercial news is from the Daily Star. Andy, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this one as our resident pilot. United Airlines flight to China forced to turn around as pilot forgets passport. So a United Airlines pilot from Los Angeles to Shanghai was forced to divert to San Francisco because a pilot forgot their passport. The 787-9 embarked on the almost 14-hour flight from LAX airport on Saturday the 22nd of March just before 2 p.m. The 300-capacity aircraft flew up to 32,000 feet, travelled for about 1 hour and 45 minutes before the crew turned around over the Pacific. American Airlines cited the reason for the diversion. Hold on, American Airlines, I said United earlier. American Airlines cited the reason for the diversion as a crew-related issue. However, the aircraft turned around after one of the pilots realised he'd forgot his passport, Air Live reports. The United Airlines flight UA-198 landed in San Francisco and passengers were given a lovely $15 meal voucher as a means of compensation. Replacement crew boarded the aircraft and the aircraft took off for a second time for Shanghai. United Airlines said in a statement, "Your flight diverted to San Francisco due to unexpected crew-related issues requiring a new crew. Once they arrive, we'll get you back on your way to Shanghai as soon as possible," they said. And they also followed up with, "We sincerely apologise for this disruption and appreciate your patience." Now, Andy, as the pilot in the room here,
yes,
I'm guessing that you have to carry your passport with you every single time you fly wherever you're going.
Correct. Yes. If you remember to pack it. This is the case with this man here. It's so easy. To be fair play to them for turning around that far, like an hour and a bit in, because he wouldn't have been allowed into China and he'd have been turned around and sent back anyway. And it's better for the airline really not to have the headache of having to find somebody else to send down route to then rest and then pick up the aircraft. Again, it's a very easy thing to do. If you've been, mine lives in my work bag normally, but if I'm going on holiday, obviously I need it then, and I've got to remember to put it back in. And again, you've got to make sure that you check all of this stuff before you go flying.
So even as a pilot, even if you're not even going to get off the aircraft, if it's just literally you're landing, passengers get off, you're refueling, and then you're going straight back home again, you still have to have your passport.
What if you get down there and the aircraft's broken and you've got no way to get home?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you've always got to be prepared for a night stop just in case, because you never know what's going to happen during the day.
So you have a go bag with you, Andy?
I've got a pair of pants and socks in my work bag. Yeah, that's all I need. If I'm going somewhere nice, I'll stick my flip-flops and swimming shorts in as well, yeah. Don't need much more for a night. I've had this happen before. I got stuck in Kefalonia because I had to divert en route due to a very unwell passenger. We ran out of hours because we left so early. And I was like, well, we're going to have to stay the night. So I had to go to the hotel shop. I think I spent 15 euros on a pair of really naff voluminous orange shorts, an I Love Kefalonia T-shirt, and some really naff flip-flops as well. But it did the job.
I can think of worse places, I suppose, to be stuck somewhere than that. Nice sunny place to be. But I'm guessing that you weren't packing the flip flops and budgie smugglers when you were in Geneva the other week.
No. Just in those cases, I just keep the bare minimums in the bag just in case. Your shirt and your uniform will do another day, no problem.
I was thinking of the, your recent medical procedure, Andy. I mean, if we fast forward, let's say 30 years maybe, if your desire is going to be you want to fly commercially, they'll say, Mr. Wilson, perhaps you'd just like to come into the surgery and we'll just put an implant into your wrist for you so that has all your biometric and passport information, so you never have to worry about it again.
That's very true, yeah. Fortunately, in 30 years' time, I'll be retired because I'll be 70 then. But yeah, I'd take a chip in my arm. I'm not bothered. I'm not scared of all this stuff. It'd be quite interesting, that, really, wouldn't it? Make life easier.
Yes, no, you're right. I think that I've certainly been, although just as a passenger, I've never lost a passport myself, but I've certainly been someone with my previous work colleagues that are very absent-minded about that kind of thing, and they just, they don't really understand. I mean, okay, going between perhaps some of the Schengen area countries, it's less of a problem. But when you're going to, Norway or Switzerland or the UK or whatever, then or the US, has happened on one occasion. So yeah.
I'm very much a person that has a bag that has a place in it for everything, so I can check if everything's in the correct place. That may sound a bit OCD, but it's the only way I can make sure I've got everything.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Because you do have to carry a lot of stuff. It's like you have to fly with your license. Unlike driving a car where you don't have to have your driving license on you, you have to have your license and your medical on you at all times when flying.
Oh, wow. That must take up quite some bag space, Andy.
Yeah, it's just a couple of little pouches. It's normally me leftover Sunday dinner that takes up the most. I get heated up halfway through the day.
Neil Lamorne in the chat room makes a good point, actually. He says you'd think that we could have some sort of secure electronic passport now that you could just carry around in your phone. This paper nonsense is old hat. He does make a good point there.
Yeah, it's true. I see Mizzou says there as well, no passport checks for pilots at the departure airport. Nope, we just have our IDs to get us to the airport. We don't have anything like that.
Very interesting. Right, it's time for that part of the show. So, Nev, what's coming up next?
Yeah, it's the favourite part of the show for me. It's the Retro Airline Ad of the Week. And this week, it's a really special treat as we take a look at an airline that was going the distance at a low cost. So let's go to the main man himself, Sir Freddie Laker.
I'm Freddie Laker. I own Laker Airways, and I'm dedicated to low-cost air travel. In 1976, over 1 million passengers flew Laker, so if you're planning a visit across the Atlantic, believe me, we know what we're talking about. With Laker, you can fly round-trip to the USA or Canada in one of our wide-body DC-10s for less than half the price of a normal economy ticket, and you don't have to join a club. Just book well in advance and plan to stay for at least 2 weeks. But don't call me. See your travel agent for full details. Look, I've got to give you a better deal. I've got my name on every plane.
What do you think about that?
Beautiful.
Wasn't that audio quality brilliant, considering he was outside the aircraft like that? I wonder if there's been some audio doctoring there somewhere. But yeah, of course, it was very successful for the period of time that he operated, and had good reliability from the DC-10 too, from what I gather.
Yeah, I can count myself as being lucky, Nev, that I got to travel with Laker once in my youth as a child on a DC-10.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to go on Laker Airways, Nev?
No, I didn't. No. The only DC-10 I've ever been on was Gatwick to Dallas Fort Worth on a BA, and I was in the middle seat in economy where they've got 5 across the middle for 9.5 hours, and it was bloody horrific, I have to say.
So those were the Caledonian ones, weren't they?
They were, yes, that's right.
Obviously being a youngster of the group, Andy, you obviously remember Sir Freddie Laker.
Vaguely. And of course, living up north, we didn't have the, in poverty, we didn't have the pleasure of going down to Gatwick to fly out to fancy destinations like America, No.
Oh dear.
We may do a Scarborough and Whitley Bay,
Do you know what? He proved back then, didn't he, Nev, that low-cost transatlantic travel just was not a good idea.
Well, no, he did it.
Yes.
But BA went out of their way
to
shaft him, essentially, just like they tried to do with Virgin as well. But BA succeeded with Laker.
Yes, and there was a long period after that, wasn't there, where there was just the four operators, so United, American, BA and Virgin were really the only operators.
And Conti as well, Continental.
Yeah, that's right, yes, across the North Atlantic, yeah. And obviously that changed a great deal. But, I think Freddie Laker opened up, incredible opportunity. But then BA, I would imagine it would have been Lord King at the time, and the management team thought, right, how are we going to, capitalise on this for our benefit and not give him the advantage? But no, it's amazing, wasn't it? Very interesting period of travel in aviation, definitely.
Perhaps Laker or Global will be the new Laker. Nev.
I'll eat a second hat.
I'm going to go buy an extra hat this weekend for Andy to eat that one as well.
Oh dear, we're gonna have to find some on some shopping apps, some hats for Andy to
edible
to
hats,
edible
yeah.
hats.
Deep fryable, please, preferably.
Yes.
Yep. No. Okay. Well, that's a project for next week then. Let's see if we can get certainly before the A380 departs from. Is it Glasgow it's going from?
Oh, yeah, hang on. That's right. That's not on. They don't have an AOC yet, remember? When they first fly their first AOC flight.
Oh, is that the deal? Ah, right. Well, we're somewhere off that.
It's got to be a Global Airlines flight, not operated by High Fly.
Right.
Yes.
I think we may be some way off that in that case.
Yes.
Well, I've got the hat for you, I think, Andy, the one with the beer can each side.
The beer cans, yes.
Yeah. That's a suitable one.
I've got one of those in the garage somewhere.
Right, now we've been asking for many moons to get some feedback from listeners, and this week, Nev, we have received some feedback.
Yes, so thank you very much indeed to Stephen Taylor, who sent in some really good feedback about an item that we covered on last week's show. Because it was in the afternoon when he was writing it. He says, "Good afternoon all. I'm emailing in with my first ever piece of feedback, having been an avid listener for the last 10 years. He says, following the discussion in episode 543 regarding NPAS's recent order for the new H135 from Airbus helicopters, the discussion turned to air ambulances and how they are funded and how they should be funded by the NHS. North of the border, here in Scotland, things are a little different. Scotland covers nearly 1/3 of the United Kingdom's land area, with its population spread across various landscapes, including 790 islands, with 94 of those inhabited. As such, the necessity for an air ambulance service is paramount. It ensures equitable healthcare provision to the public, irrespective of rural and remote geography. The Scottish Government fully funds the Scottish Air Ambulance Service, SAS. Have you heard that before? Air ambulance operation, which includes 2 Airbus H145 helicopters based at Glasgow and Inverness airports, and 2 Beechcraft King Air 200 aircraft based at Glasgow and Aberdeen airports. These are operational 24/7 and equipped according to clinical specifications developed by the Scottish Ambulance Service. They provide clinical staff, whilst Gamma Aviation supply the aircraft, flight crew and engineering support. The service handles over 4,000 incidents annually and is supported by 2 Airbus H135 helicopters from Scotland's Charity Air Ambulance, which operates 12 hours a day at Perth and Aberdeen airports. Keep up the great work with the podcast. Kind regards, Stephen, and he's an air ambulance paramedic and helicopter technical crew member. Wow. That's a really interesting piece of info, because I must say I was under the impression, tarring the whole of the United Kingdom with the same brush as I have done previously, I did not realise that it's a fully funded operation in Scotland. That's brilliant, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
What it should be.
Yeah. I think we've got a short title for this week as well.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, not that SAS. There's been a lot of SAS has talked about tonight.
Yes. Absolutely. I think I wanted to say, I did a quick reply to Stephen as well, but just, the service that these guys and girls provide is just phenomenal. And obviously, at very short notice, they've got to be ready to scramble to all sorts of situations in mountainous areas, difficult weather conditions. And if you've seen the amount of kit that they put into these helicopters and the fixed-wing aircraft as well, it's absolutely stacked full of stuff, ready to deal with almost any emergency they come across. And I think it's such a worthwhile operation, and they do a brilliant job for us members of the public. So thank you very much, Stephen, for sending in the feedback and for the fabulous job that you do as well.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. Always nice to hear from the listeners, especially when they do such an interesting job as well, Nev.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And so that was really, really nice. And I've seen some work that Rory on Air's done as well about some of the HEMS operations as well. There's some nice YouTube videos that he's done too. So, no, brilliant stuff, guys and girls. Thanks very much indeed, Stephen, for sending that in.
Right, Nev, what is coming up next?
Oh, it's a subject that I don't know very much about. So let's play that, shall we?
What's up, bogeys 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 St. Boogie.
So the first story from the military news segment this week comes to us from the forcesnews.com. And Royal Air Force pilot joins elite group of aviators by flying the EA-18G Growler from a US aircraft carrier. So a Royal Air Force officer said it was an incredible honour to get a rare opportunity to fly one of the world's most advanced electronic attack jets from a US aircraft carrier. Squadron leader Lalo flew the E-18G Growler off USS Abraham Lincoln as part of an exchange program with the US Navy. He becomes one of only a handful of RAF pilots to qualify as a naval aviator and earn his wings of gold through the US Navy carrier's qualification in around 60 years of transatlantic exchange programs. The achievement puts him among an elite group of aviators with cross-platform expertise spanning land and sea operations and makes him one of the few RAF pilots to experience catapult launches and arrested landings. Squadron leader Lahalo said the opportunity to fly the E-18G Growler off a US aircraft carrier was an incredible honour. Carrier flying is an utterly unique experience. Getting shot off the catapult at 140 knots in under 2 seconds certainly focuses the mind, he said. Squadron leader Lowe is currently with the US Electronic Attack Squadron's 129, which trains aircrew and sailors to conduct electronic warfare at Naval Station Whidbey Island in Washington State. He began months of intensive preparation back in February, from lectures and simulators to field carrier landing practice at Coopville, a naval air station in El Centro, California. The coordinated teamwork required so many different departments to achieve safe and efficient flying operations, and with a privilege to witness, he said. He followed up with, I will be forever grateful to VAQ 129 for allowing me to carrier qualify. I suppose that's a nice bit to have ticked off on your license if you're in a pub and bragging, I suppose.
Yeah, that's proper bragging rights, that, isn't it?
Be
Cool
one
stuff.
one for you to try, Andy. I think a nice little carrier landing.
No. Certainly not in my aircraft. I'd definitely be in the water.
I've seen it done on Flight Sim before, Andy. I've seen that there's videos online you can watch. People have tried to land various commercial airliners on aircraft carriers.
I suppose the C-130 was landed and departed several aircraft carrier decks.
Yes.
I think some was with rocket assist, though, which is not an option on the 320 family, as far as I'm aware.
No. But the Trident had the rocket assist, didn't it? There's the Hawker Silly Trident, Nev. Do you remember had the rocket assist?
It wasn't rocket assist, it was water
It was
injection.
water injection,
Water
wasn't
injection,
it?
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly not rocket assist, no.
Well,
It's a bit much even for back in the 60s and 70s.
I think you've been drinking the Kool-Aid, Carlos.
no, this is. I'm on the soft stuff tonight. This is just lime cordial. That's how we do it. Trying to cut down on the midweek drinking at the moment. The stress of moving home is getting to me, I think. Andy, you've got the next story, and good news for Boeing. Well, they need some good news.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, it's not commercial, it's military, but this is from aeromag.com, and Boeing wins USAF 6th generation fighter jet contract. Boeing has been awarded a pivotal contract with the US Air Force to design, build and deliver the next generation air dominance, NGAD, fighter jet, formerly called the F-47. The USAF announced the contract award for the engineering and manufacturing development, EMD, of the next generation air dominance, NGAD, platform on Friday. The contract awarded to Boeing will lead to the development of the F-47, the world's first 6th generation fighter aircraft. The new aircraft will spearhead advancements in range, survivability, lethality, and adaptability, intending to solidify US air superiority for decades to come. The announcement was made by the US Air Force, positions NGAD platform as the central node in the NGAD family of systems, an innovative networked approach to modern combat air power. Boeing, which has a storied history of developing cutting-edge combat aircraft, will lead the project for a 6th generation of fighter jets. We recognise the importance of designing, building and delivering a 6th generation fighter capability for the US Air Force, said Steve Parker, interim president and chief executive officer of Boeing Defence, Space and Security. In preparation for this mission, we made the most significant investment in the history of our defence business, and we are ready to provide the most advanced and innovative NGAD aircraft needed to support the mission. Over the years, Boeing has produced legendary combat aircraft such as the P-51 Mustang, the F-4 Phantom, I thought that was McDonnell Douglas, the F-15 Eagle, FA-18 Hornet and EA-18G Growler. Each of these aircraft has performed a crucial role in redefining global air combat capabilities. With the NGAD platform, Boeing aims to build on this legacy and establish a new benchmark in 6th generation technology. Well, there we are.
It does look nice. I'm just looking at the pictures online, just trying to get one of those up on the screen, if I can. Let's have a look, see if I can get one on there. No, it'll be that picture there, which I flagged up just a minute ago on the screen.
Oh, I didn't see it.
If I can get this to... There we go. Kind of get a look of what it looks like there. There are some better pictures online, but...
Looks a bit like the spaceships out of Independence Day, doesn't it? The alien ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps they should redesign the P-51 Mustang. That done well.
Yeah, I'm sure the Phantom was a McDonnell product, though, wasn't it?
The
F-4 Phantom. That wasn't a Boeing product. Or they're just claiming it because they took over McDonnell Douglas.
Probably. They claimed everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yes, there we go. That's it for the military news this week. Bit of a short one this week. But, right, what should we do now? Should we go with Nev having a catch-up and seeing what you're up to in the coming week then?
Yes, no flying this week. Well, actually not strictly true, because on Friday I'm going to the Brooklands Museum to fly the Concorde simulator again.
Ooh.
And very kind of my chums at Biamp to club together for my retirement present. So they bought me a silver experience on the Concorde simulator at Brooklands. And the last time I flew that was nearly 10 years ago. It's a very long time ago now. Since then, it's been upgraded with new projection systems, new computers, and I was talking to one of the fellas that runs it, and he was saying that it's flying very nicely at the moment. So you get a chance to actually have a go in the left-hand seat with a former Concorde pilot in the right seat. So,
Do you know who you've got?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they phoned up Mike Bannister and they said, "Oh, by the way, Mike, Nev's coming in on Friday. Could you pop in?"
And he dropped everything he was doing and went, "Of course,
Or
it's
could
Nev."
it be Les Brody? Could it be John Hutchinson? I don't know. But anyway, we'll see. So, yes, I'm looking forward to that very much indeed. It's a full day. So you start at 10 o'clock in the morning, have a bit of a briefing and a cup of tea with biscuits to begin with. I mean, that might be a different story towards the end of the day, obviously.
Especially if it is with the chief pilot, yes.
Well, quite, yes, exactly. And then a chance to look around the museum again. Haven't done that for a while. And then you get to visit the aircraft itself, the one that they have there, and then into the sim later in the day. So, yeah, very much looking forward to that. And I'll see if I can do some video there, if I'm allowed, and do a bit of a report on it next week.
Fantastic.
But yes, I'm looking forward to that very much indeed. And always good because you're with lots of like-minded aviation enthusiasts as well. So it'll be interesting to see who's down there this week. So I'm going on Friday and I'll report back next week.
So do you get a choice, Nev, of where you're going to fly, or do you not know yet?
I think now last time I did actually get the chance to fly into Kai-Tak airport.
I just wonder whether you're going to do the Bay of Biscay.
Yeah, well, the trouble is it's a bit boring, isn't it? If you think about it, it's yeah. But no, I think you are given, or they suggest some approaches that you might like to do. But the realism is very good. To say from my memory of it, I mean, bearing in mind the original simulator that was at Filton was extremely basic, and it consisted of a small CCD camera that was literally tracked over what I would only describe as a train set vertically mounted on the wall. Now, of course, with today's gaming graphics and all the stuff that goes with it and the scenery and the database, the fidelity even 10 years ago was phenomenal. Goodness only knows what it's going to be like now. So I'm really looking forward to it, to see how good it is. But it did, even the last time I flew it, it did fly very well, I must say. And there was it was good levels of realism, I have to say. So we'll see what happens on Friday.
John Falk in a chat room, Nev, says he did an Avro Vulcan simulator session last Sunday. Great experience.
Ah, very good. Yes, excellent. That's good to hear, John. So I will we'll see how we get on. But yeah, also see if I can see who my co-pilot is and see who I'll be flying with.
I'm looking. I really hope you can do some filming, Nev. I really do. Really
yeah,
do.
I think I can take all the gear down with me, so it'll be sort of iPhone style filming, I think. But we'll see how we get on. And yeah, it'll be nice to do a report. But no, I've got to thank all my colleagues at Biamp, where I used to work, for buying me the Concorde experience. It's absolutely fantastic of them. So yeah, I'm very grateful to them, and I shall hopefully share my experiences with you next week.
Is there any particular sim? Obviously, Andy, you spend quite a lot of time in sims, but is there any particular sim that you would love to get your hands on and have a go in?
What sims have I flown though? I've flown the 737-200, a classic, which is the 300 onwards, NG. So I've done the whole 73 family. Obviously the A320. I've done a Boeing 717, 7576, the 777, 747-200, 747-400. I think probably Concorde sim is the one I'd like to have a go on. Yeah, I've flown most of the other types and instructed in a lot of the other types as well. It's not Concorde.
You done the 717? You say, Andy?
Yes, the 717. Yeah, there was randomly for quite a while because Voltaire had them. There was a 717 sim at a place in London that I used to do sim training on, and the engineers were testing it. So like, do you mind if I jump in and have a play? It was brilliant fun.
Wow.
Remember the first time we met up, Andy? It was you and Matt, wasn't it? We went to an A320 sim. Where was it? Gosh, I've forgotten where we went. You and I.
That was one up near Chester.
That's right. Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And as always with sims, they're probably less reliable than the real aircraft at times, aren't they?
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes.
And sometimes stuff doesn't quite work as advertised, so there's lots of rebooting and fiddling around quite often, isn't there?
Yes, that's the same in all multi-million-pound jet simulators. You get in, you go, well, this isn't working right. You ring the engineers and they go, yeah, we'll just turn it off and back on again. That should fix it.
But actually, when you think about the general issue of there's just not enough sims or sim times, having a electrical or mechanical failure of some sort, that's quite a big deal, isn't it? When you've got people literally queuing up to do type ratings or refreshers or whatever it is.
Yeah, you've got to cram. Sim sessions are normally in the airlines about 4 hours long. You've got to cram a lot of stuff in that 4 hours to get through the program, and any time that you lose there's a knock-on effect for everything. So yeah, it's really important that they do run properly. And like I say, they do occasionally fall apart, and when they do fall over, they fall over dramatically. So it takes quite a bit of fixing.
Dirk Guest in the chat room, and he's saying that apparently he's having an A320 session next week.
Oh, very good.
Any advice?
Yes. This is going to sound strange, but don't grip the stick too hard. And nice, gentle movements with it, as Nev knows.
Yes, over control is a real thing.
Yes,
in Airbus world, isn't it? Yes,
it is.
So, what are you up to? Obviously, you're recovering now, Andy. But I'm guessing the person that we know you are, you won't stop working. You'll work from home and do stuff.
Yeah, I've had the past couple of days off. I'm just keeping my hand up and rested at the moment. I've been dipping in and out of the emails. I'm getting the stitches out mid next week, so I'll see where I am, and then I'll see where I want to go back to work-wise. There's no rush at the moment. It's all about just recovering and getting my hand fixed. But I'll be back at it before long.
Excellent. Back in the air, I hope. So, Nev, where can all our awesome listeners find out more about us?
Yeah, so if you want to have a look at the socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or LinkedIn, just search those platforms for Plane Talking UK. You can email us at the show, podcast@planetalkinguk.com. And the website is www.planetalkinguk.com. We've got a new WhatsApp number, which people have been making a lot of use of in the last week or so. So that number is +44 7446 975 214. That's +44 7446 975 214. You can send us photos, jokes, aviation related stuff, whatever you like, and we'd be happy to receive them and maybe feature some of them on the show as well. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room, as many people have done today. So just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. You can become a Patreon of the show, so that helps us with the running costs of the show, media server costs, website costs, cable replacement costs, all that kind of thing. You can do that by using the Patreon or the PayPal link, which is on our website. And of course, we're doing some air shows this year as well. and we'll be. I've not got those details right in front of me at the moment, but we'll give a bit of a review
week,
of what we've got coming up next week, and then Carlos and I are going to do some local East Anglia, well, local to him, local East Anglia aviation museums as well. So it'd be really nice to do some video and audio in some of those as well, especially now the weather's getting a bit nicer too.
I was just looking at the new WhatsApp number now. There are 2 Boeing aircraft types in that WhatsApp number, I just noticed.
Oh, yes, there's 744 and there's 752, isn't there?
Yeah.
And actually, if you're stretching it slightly, there's an Airbus designation in there of 214, which is a variant
320.
of a 320, isn't it?
Yes, what does the 1 and the 4 stand for, though? There you go. That's a question for you for next week.
Oh, no. Well, I've got no idea.
I've read this somewhere.
You can find out the answer for next week.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for that, Andy. Right, that is where we're going to bring episode 544 to a close this week. Big thanks to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room tonight. Massive thank you to you all, and great to see you in there as always each week. Also, big thanks to everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast as well. Thank you for downloading us each week and tuning in. We really do appreciate you following and listening to the show very much indeed. Right, Nev, I'll just get you to lead us off and say thanks to Andy for joining us tonight as well. Thanks for being back, Andy. Great to have you back with us, and I hope you'll be back next week, fingers crossed. And,
always a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much. But Nev, do you want to take us out?
Yes, just one thing I was going to mention. Of course, I've got Matt with us this week. He's been looking after his mum, and he's hoping he'll be back on the show next week. So thanks, Bill, for mentioning that in the chat room, because we didn't actually cover that at the start of the show. But we'll see Matt back on the show next week, all being well. Meanwhile, I hope you have a great week and weekend. We'll be back at 7 o'clock on Wednesday next week. Hope you have a great time. Bye for now.
And there we are. All done. How good was that?
Well, we don't know.
Well, hopefully it was all right.
What do the viewers and listeners think? Oh dear! But very hectic news week this week, wasn't it? So lots to put in there.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, John, thank you, John. Much appreciated for the comment there in the chat room. See, I can do it. I'm learning. I'm still learning, but yeah, getting used to using the equipment here. And then in about a month's time, I'm going to be ripping all this out and moving.
And it'll never work properly again.
It'll never work properly again. Oh, God. Spent all the time building this studio, and now we're moving. Oh, dear, honestly. Oh,
Never mind.
Never mind. I'll be even closer to a museum, aviation museum. That's a good thing.
That's good. Once we do go off YouTube, I need to chat with you two about something.
Roger that.
Don't let me forget.
If it's loans, can't help. I'm
No.
retired.
No. It's about something that we've just been discussing, actually.
If it's aircraft parts,
No.
I can help
No.
you.
No, it's an exciting opportunity for everybody that I'd like to talk about on the show next week.
Ooh,
Seriously.
Okay.
excellent.
Including the listeners as well.
I'll tell you what. I might give away in a prize because I need to find a new home for it. My Lego airport.
Oh, okay.
Lego Airport.
Yeah, I've got an entire Lego airport up here.
Have you?
Yeah.
Where at?
In
In your studio?
Yeah, in here. If I how do I going to do this? Hold on. Let me
Just
just
go back to you.
Add an input camera, and this camera here, and then OK. Right. If I switch to this camera and go like that, hopefully, in the world of YouTube, you'll be able to see. If I grab this microphone here, right, there's.
Oh, look at that.
There's the aircraft in question, and then the airport is there with the control tower. So yeah, I might give that away. Might give that away as a prize on the show.
What? And you get a free RB211 Stage 1 fan plate?
Oh no, I'll never give that away. Oh my word, no. Never give that away. But no, thanks everyone again for joining us this week. Much appreciated. But I'm going to descend off with these lovely team members, and I'm also going to have some food because I'm starving. Not had me tea yet.
Good lad.
But yes, thanks again everyone in the chat room for joining us this week. Great to see you all in there, and as well as you, Andy. Thanks for joining us again this week. Being back on the show this week, and all the best for your healing. Hope you heal up fine. I'm sure the medication will help.
Yes.
Or the real ale.
The what is it? The sheep shagger gold. That's what I'm drinking.
Whee!
Yes, that's doing the job.
Right, Nev, would you like to say goodbye to these fine folks?
I will, and thank you very much indeed for joining us again this week. It's been a lot of fun in the chat room. Thanks for some great conversations and contributions. We'll be back next week at 7 o'clock. And meanwhile, we'll find out what Andy's got in store for us. And we'll reveal all of that next week. So take care. Bye for now.